Nightshift, Part 1 by Charles Swain. Narrated by Vince V. The night had settled over the town like a thick, suffocating shroud. A waning moon hung low, casting long shadows across the near-empty parking lot of the grocery store. Scott McDowell sat in his patrol car, the engine silent. His breath fogged up the windshield in slow, rhythmic puffs. The grocery store had stood before him, hollow and half-lit. A place that should have been alive with the hum of late-night workers and passing cars. Instead, it was barren, like a body long since abandoned by its soul. It hadn't taken long for Scott to notice something was off about this place. Business dwindled day by day. The shelves remained too full for comfort, and the only thing on the rise was the number of shoplifters. He had worked security in rough neighborhoods before, but something about this town, this shopping center, made his skin crawl. He was allowed to carry a taser for protection, a small mercy. And since his shift took place in the dead of night, they let him bring his dog along as well. Over time, he had grown accustomed to the routine, befriending the night crew. Billy, the stock clerk, and Edna, the cashier. The only soul he could not abide was the nighttime manager, a man of short patience and long-winded yelling, who seemed to believe that authority came only in the form of bellowed threats. Scott kept his distance, but Billy never missed an opportunity to complain about him. One evening, as the store prepared to close, Scott stood outside with Billy and Edna, their breath curling in the cold air. Billy was nursing a cheap beer, leaning against a stack of shopping carts, while Edna rubbed her arms for warmth. "I'm glad this place is shutting down soon," Billy said, tipping the bottle back. Scott exhaled through his nose. "Yeah, well, I'm not. Gotta find another job, and around here, not exactly easy pickings." Scott looked up at the sky, his expression unreadable. "I don't get it. This area's got everything. Malls, restaurants, stores. Where the hell is everyone?" A silence settled between them, heavy and knowing. Then Edna took a sip from her beer, and without looking at Billy, she said, "You never told him, did you?" Billy's face darkened. "Geez, Edna," he hissed, casting a glance toward the store as if the walls had ears. "You know how to keep your mouth shut?" Scott arched a brow. "Tell me what?" Billy scowled, but Edna only smirked and nudged him with her elbow. "Oh, come on, Billy. Scott can keep a secret." Scott crossed his arms, intrigued despite himself. Billy exhaled sharply through his nose, muttering something under his breath. Then, after a pause, he shrugged. "Fine, but don't tell a soul what I'm about to tell you. Got it?" Scott nodded, and Billy leaned slightly, lowering his voice. "This place used to be a graveyard," he said. Scott blinked. "What?" Billy tilted his beer bottle toward the store. "All of it. The whole shopping center. It was a cemetery, big one too. When the bodies stopped coming in, the place lost money. They shut it down, sold the land. But moving the graves, that takes time. Too much time. So instead, they just..." He made a sweeping gesture with his hand. "Ripped out the tombstones, moved them a few towns over, left everything else where it was, paved over it, built all this on top of a graveyard." Edna leaned in, her voice conspiratorial. "And the people started disappearing." Billy shot her a look, but Scott already straightened. "Disappearing?" Billy exhaled sharply, rubbing a hand down his face. "Yeah. At first, it was just inside the grocery store, then the restaurants, then the mall. People just gone. No trace, no bodies. Kids, adults, you name it. One second they were there, the next, poof. Edna grabbed Billy's arm, eyes gleaming with drunken mischief. Tell him the creepy part. Billy rolled his eyes. I'm getting there. Look, people started whispering, saying the dead didn't take kindly to being built over. Said they were crawling out of the walls, the floors, the ceilings, taking people down into the dark with them. But the weirdest part? There were always rumors about coffins being built. Scott frowned. Coffins? Billy nodded, eyes dark. Yeah, small ones, child-sized. No one ever found them, but people swore they heard hammering at night. The wind picked up, whistling through the parking lot. Scott suppressed a shiver, chalking it up to the cold. And what, these, whatever they are, they just take people? Billy hesitated. They hate the living. They envy us because we're not like them. Rumor has it that they hate sunlight. That's why people only tend to disappear during the nighttime. They also don't seem to be very fond of noise. They can't stand it. Some say that's what woke them up in the first place. All the construction, all the people. The sound drove them mad. As if on cue, a sharp metallic screech split the air. Scott spun, heart lurching, hand flying to his taser. His dog, tied in the patrol car, let out a vicious bark, pulling at the chain. Billy burst out laughing. Scott turned back, scowling, only to see Billy grinning like a fool, his pocket knife in his hand. He had been dragging it along the pavement. What the hell, man? Scott muttered, shaking his head. Billy was still chuckling when the night manager stepped outside, arms crossed. His face was a mask of irritation. What the hell are you idiots doing out here? He snapped. Billy, get inside. You've got work to do. He narrowed his eyes. We'll talk about this in the morning. Now get moving before I report your ass. Billy rolled his eyes. Yeah. He shot Scott a smirk before heading inside. Sorry, man. Didn't mean to freak you out. Scott didn't respond. Instead, he walked back to his car, shaking off the unease creeping down his spine. He sat behind the wheel, rubbing a hand over his face. It was all made up, right? A story meant to spook him. And yet, he glanced at the store through the windshield. Shadows stretched along inside. The hairs on the back of his neck stood up. Stupid, he muttered, turning the key to the ignition. But as the radio hummed to life, his mind drifted back to Billy's last words. Even the slightest noise would make them notice you. The dog whimpered. Scott's grip tightened on the wheel. And somewhere, deep beneath the pavement, something stirred. Scott sat in his car, the weight of his thoughts pressing upon him like a great unseen hand. The night was thick with silence, save for the occasional whistle of wind through the vacant parking lot. He toyed with his keys. The ignition hummed beneath his touch and muttered to himself, I should at least finish out my shift. I'll look for a new job in the morning. And with that, he leaned back, letting the comforting drone of the radio fill the emptiness. Time ebbed away, slow and languid, as though reluctant to march forward. The store's fluorescent glow stretched long shadows across the pavement, a ghostly presence watching over the night. Scott had not slept in 2 days, a fact that gnawed at him like some unseen vermin in the recesses of his skull. Fatigue overtook him, and he drifted into slumber without even realizing it. When he awoke, the clock on his dashboard glowed an eerie 2:30 a.m. He rubbed his eyes, bewildered at how long he had slept. Stranger still, no one had come to wake him. His gaze turned to the store. Its lights still blazed, yet all was still. Something gnawed at his gut, an unplaceable dread. He cracked the car door open. But before he could step out, his dog leapt from the vehicle, only to be halted mid-bound. His leash had entangled itself upon the clutch. The poor creature barked and yelped, clawing at the pavement in frantic desperation, until one final desperate tug. The leash snapped. The dog vanished into the inky abyss beyond the streetlights. Scott's breath caught in his throat. "He'll come back," he murmured, trying to reassure himself. "He always does." With a weary step, he approached the store, pressing his face against the cold glass. The interior was undisturbed, yet something in the far distance stirred. The double doors leading to the storage room shifted, ever so slightly, as if nudged from within. He grasped the door handle, but it was locked fast. His pulse quickened. 3 months ago, the management had installed bulletproof glass throughout the complex. There would be no breaking in. His hand instinctively reached for his pocket, but his phone was at home, left charging on his nightstand. Then he remembered the payphone. He sprinted across the lot, fingers fumbling as he dialed the authorities. The operator's voice was a dull drone in his ears, detached and unaffected by his urgency. "A patrol car is on its way, but it will take time." Just as he hung up, his dog returned, but something was wrong. Blood dripped from the side of his mouth, a dark and viscous stain upon its golden fur. Scott knelt, heart hammering against his ribs. The dog's eyes shone with something wild, something not quite right. It opened its mouth, and with a sickening plop, a ring of keys fell to the pavement, glistening with crimson. Scott's breath caught. Those were not just any keys. They bore the telltale loop of the manager's keyring. Dread settled upon him like a shroud. He could leave. He could get into his car and drive far, far away from this wretched place. But Billy and Edna. He muttered an oath under his breath, steeled his resolve, and snatched up the keys. Drawing the taser from its holster, he approached the store once more. His hands trembled as he slid the key into the lock. The door gave way with an unsettling ease. No sooner had he entered than he was struck with force, sent sprawling to the ground. His vision swam, his breath knocked from his chest. Billy. The man's face was gaunt, his eyes bloodshot and wide with fear. He scrambled to his feet, desperate, but before he could make his escape, the shutters clanged with a resounding finality. Steel bolted to the ground. Billy shrieked, a sound not wholly human. He clawed at the immovable barricade, his nails scraping against the cold metal. "It's too late! It's too late for all of us!" His laughter was high-pitched, tinged with madness. "You did this! You locked us in! They killed us, Scott! They take pleasure in it! You know why there are only children's coffins, Scott?" His voice cracked into hysterics. "They cut the bodies in half and stuffed them inside!" Scott grabbed him by the shoulders, shaking him. "You're losing it, Billy. We are not going to die. The police will be here any moment." "You fool! You haven't seen them!" Billy's voice was a raw whisper. "It's over." And then, before Scott could react, the ground beneath Billy gave way. With a horrific, bone-snapping crunch, the floor swallowed him whole. His scream was a gurgled thing, swallowed by the abyss. Scott stood frozen, breath shallow. Part of the floor had turned to the side, and Billy fell in. After a few moments, it turned again, this time revealing Billy, or what is left of him. Billy's hands, still nailed grotesquely to the tile, his fingers twitching in their death throes. Spiders, thick and glistening, poured from his hollow eye sockets. A snake, its fangs glistening, uncoiled itself from within his gaping mouth. It lunged, and Scott barely evaded its bite. His dog, yelping in agony, tore through the double doors into the storage room. spiders clinging to its flesh. Scott was alone. He zigzagged through the aisles, heart pounding, breath ragged. He burst into the deli, and there they stood, the children's coffins. One by one, he pried them open, bile rising in his throat. There lay Edna, her body severed, contorted grotesquely within the wooden confines. Beside her, the manager, his fate the same. Scott turned to flee, but something barred his path. A figure, shrouded in decay, stood before him. Its flesh sloughed from its bones, its milky eyes brimming with malice. "You disturb our peace," it rasped, voice like dead leaves in the wind. "You pollute our place with your light. You will suffer slowly." Scott swung the crowbar, cracking its skull. The thing crumpled, but he knew it would not stay down for long. His only hope was the attic. He had to make it. But the chains on the storage door rattled, and the shadows in the aisles shifted. They were coming, and Scott was running out of time. In the kingdom of Terminus, veiled in silver mist and crowned by stars that never dimmed, Gemini, the twin king of dreams, stood vigilant. His gleaming armor, ornate and embossed with celestial etchings, shimmered beneath the vaulted chamber lights. Around the Knights of the Round, the other 12 Zodiac Kings waited in silence, their gazes fixed on the central orb, a sphere of living starlight suspended above the center of the table. With a stern breath, Gemini extended his hand toward Libra, whose scales rested perfectly balanced beside his throne. "Open the portal," Gemini commanded. "They are ready." Libra inclined his head, and with a circular motion of his palm, the orb began to shift. Space groaned as a gateway ruptured open within the folds of the Dreamverse. From the portal stepped 5 warriors. The first was Arius, a stoic dark knight clad in storm gray plate armor, his massive sword strapped to his back like a grave marker. His expression was unreadable, his presence heavy as stone. Next came Naya, a summoner garbed in oceanic blues and silvers. Her hands glowed with quiet energy, strange sea spirits swimming in and out of view behind her. Beside her floated Corinne, a red-haired illusionist with a grin that never quit reached his eyes. His coat shifted colors with every movement, and in his hand was a golden mask that shimmered faintly with runes. Then came Juno, the team's sentinel and protector, her tower's shield almost taller than she was. The white lion insignia emblazoned on her chest plate glowed softly under the dreamlight. Last, bounding with carefree agility, was Tess, a rogue thief hybrid whose twin blades gleamed like moonlight on ice. She had a spark in her eye, a girl who smiled just a little too much in dangerous places. They stepped into the decaying world of cracked pavement, flickering lamplight, and suffocating shadows. The shopping center loomed ahead, drowned in silence. Gemini's voice echoed through their minds, calm and resonant. "You stand now in a dream infected by corruption. The dreamer has been trapped here, living this nightmare again and again. Your mission is clear. Locate the dreamer, protect him, and eliminate the nightmare entity that controls this place. You must move quickly. The longer you remain, the more reality distorts, and the more dangerous the dream becomes." Arius nodded once.
Understood.
The warriors approached the front of the grocery store. The automatic doors were jammed shut, reinforced with a thick steel security bar. The windows were intact, heavily reinforced, reflecting their confused expressions.
"Well, so much for walking in,"
Judo muttered, pressing her gauntlet against the glass.
"They're bulletproof,"
Corinne added, flicking a silver coin against one. It bounced off with a dull ping. Tess shrugged.
"Guess knocking politely's out."
Arius drew his sword slightly, its edge gleaming with restrained energy.
We could cut through.
Juno shook her head.
You dull your blade before we make a dent.
Naya tilted her head, calm as always. Perhaps another entrance? Tess glanced around, spinning a dagger in her hand.
Yeah? Where? You want to knock on the back door and ask nicely?
I say we climb.
Corinne suggested, pointing upward.
There's a window up top. I can make a ramp of illusions.
We don't have time for that, snapped Naya, her calm breaking for the first time. With a snap of her fingers, wind swirled violently around her. Her eyes glowed pale green, and her hair whipped upward like it was under water. Everyone stepped back instinctively.
Naya, wait!
Juno said. Too late. The wind roared around a rusted old minivan nearby. Tires screeched as it was yanked off the pavement and lifted high into the air, spinning midair like a toy. Naya! Gemini's voice rang out, but she hurled the vehicle before he could stop her. The van slammed through the grocery store's front wall with a deafening crash. Metal twisted, glass exploded, brick and concrete cracked and rained down in chunks. Shelving units inside were launched backwards like dominoes, cereal boxes and shattered soup cans exploding across the aisles. For a moment, the world was silent, except for the groan of collapsing structure. Gemini's voice returned, tight, cold. Naya. Her glow faded, breath slightly heavy. You could have killed the dreamer. There was a pause. Corinne whistled.
Remind me again why we're afraid of nightmare creatures when we've got Naya here?
Tess snorted.
Forget the monsters. Our sorceress might accidentally murder him first.
Naya turned slowly to glare at both of them. The window was sealed. The doors were locked. We had no choice.
Yeah.
Corinne grinned.
It's just, normally people knock before they hurl a multi-ton vehicle through a wall.
Naya raised a hand like she was about to summon another storm. Enough! Gemini cut in. You're wasting time arguing. Move forward. You have a greater purpose than your egos. Focus. They all quieted. A moment passed. Then, a low, wet grunt echoed from within the wreckage. Another. And another. From the shadows of broken aisles and overturned shopping carts, figures began to emerge. Shuffling, twitching, dragging limbs. Their eyes glowed with dull red light. Their clothes were ragged uniforms and store aprons, soaked in black ichor. Zombies. Dozens of them. Tess took a step back.
Nope.
The groans grew louder. More bodies shuffled into view, arms twitching, eyes glowing with red decay. They dragged their feet, jaws slack, flesh peeling from bone. There were dozens now, maybe more.
Okay, yeah.
Corinne stammered, backed up until he bumped into a tipped-over freezer.
We're officially outnumbered.
Guys,
Juno said tightly, her voice cracking.
we should fall back. Regroup. Maybe, I don't know, hide?
Where exactly?
Tess snapped.
In the cereal aisle under a box of Cheerios?
Naya's breath was sharp, her eyes darting. Even Arius had taken a step back, hand trembling slightly as it hovered over his blade. Panic set in like poison. Gemini's voice reached them again, calm, but with an undertone of urgency. Arius, you were assigned as the leader of this team. They need your command. Arius didn't answer. He stared at the horde, then at his hands.
I didn't sign up for this.
he muttered.
I'm not ready.
Juno clenched her shield tightly but didn't move forward. Naya shook her head, murmuring to herself. Corinne was whispering a spell, then canceling it halfway through. Tess turned in a circle, blades raised, but her arms trembling. They were crumbling. Gemini paused. Then, with gentleness layered over steel, he said,
"It's okay to be afraid.
The warriors looked up.
But you must not be consumed by it."
Easy for you to say.
Tess snapped.
You're not the one about to be ripped apart by undead stock boys. Crimson.
Naya closed her eyes, voice tight. We should have waited. We weren't ready. This was suicide.
Enough!
Gemini's voice was sharper now.
You are dream warriors. You were chosen for a reason. Not because you are fearless, but because you can overcome your fear. Right now, the dreamer is still somewhere in this nightmare, alone, trapped, terrified.
A pause.
Are you going to leave him to die?
The warriors were silent. The sound of groaning and dragging feet filled the void.
No.
Arius said finally, his voice low.
Good,
Gemini replied. Corinne straightened up, flipping his mask into place.
We're all gonna die. But sure, let's go down swinging.
The first zombie lunged.
Crimson Howl!
Tess shouted, spinning midair. Her twin daggers ignited in a streak of red light as she slashed in a tight circle. Severing 3 zombies at the neck. Their bodies dropped like sacks of meat, vanishing in plumes of shadow. Naya raised both hands as spectral whales swam through the air above her.
Tidecaller's wrath!
Water erupted from her palms, forming twin serpents that crashed into the crowd like tidal waves, sweeping limbs and torsos clean off bone. The sound of crashing surf echoed through the broken grocery store. Arius charged into the fray.
Obsidian Cleave!
His greatsword glowed black as he brought it down with a roar. The impact cratered the tile floor, sending shockwaves of dark energy through the zombies around him, ripping them to pieces.
Radiant Bastion!
Juno called, her shield glowing like the sun. She slammed it into the ground, and a brilliant dome of light pulsed outward, vaporizing everything undead within 10 feet. Ash rained down like snow.
Okay, not bad.
Corinne said, pulling off his mask.
Time for an encore.
He threw it forward.
Phantom Spiral!
Illusions bloomed like fireworks, mirror versions of himself darting between zombies, striking with knives of light and confusion. The monsters staggered, slashing at the air, before Corinne ended them with a series of quick jabs. But then, a scream. It came from behind the others. They turned. Corinne staggered backward, a bite mark exposed on his shoulder, blood leaking through his torn tunic.
It got me.
He stammered, wide-eyed.
Oh, God, it bit me.
Juno rushed over and cut the zombie down, its head rolling away. Corinne stumbled back, pressing his hand to his neck.
That's my blood. That's my blood.
Gemini's voice came firm.
Corinne, it's okay. You're in a dream. The bite won't carry into the waking world.
Corinne wasn't listening.
You don't get it. It bit me.
His voice cracked.
It felt real. It's warm and I can feel it trickling down my back.
The others looked on, frozen. Even Arius stopped mid-swing. Naya took a step closer. Corinne, breathe,
No, don't tell me to breathe.
he shouted.
Why the hell does it hurt so much if this is just a dream?
Gemini was quiet for a moment. Then his voice returned, measured, but heavy.
Because the mind cannot distinguish reality from the dream realm. Here, pain feels as real as it does in the waking world. If you're harmed here, it will hurt, but it won't follow you when you wake.
Corinne stared at the blood on his hand.
I don't care. I want out. I want out.
Gemini's voice trembled, almost imperceptibly.
If you leave now, the dreamer may remain trapped, haunted. You are his only chance. This pain is temporary, but the nightmare could become permanent.
I don't give a damn about the dreamer.
Corinne shouted.
He's not my problem. You don't get to keep me here. You have no right.
There was a pause, a long one. Then Gemini answered quietly.
Oh, I suppose I don't.
Light shimmered around Corinne. In seconds, his body faded, pulled away from the dream and returning to the waking world. He was gone. The other warriors stood frozen. The sound of groaning grew again. The remaining zombies, undeterred, still shambling toward them. The silence between the group was louder than the undead. Naya's eyes narrowed. Tess took a deep breath. Arius slowly raised his blade. They were down one now. The moaning of zombies slowed, then stopped. A chill slithered into the air. From the far end of the grocery store, between two collapsed aisles, she emerged. The witch. Her skin was pale and stretched too tightly across her skull, like candle wax pressed against bone. Her eyes were two black wells, empty and endless, and her mouth never moved when she spoke. Her voice entered their minds like a knife through velvet.
What is fear? But the moment you realize you are already dead, and your body simply hasn't caught up yet.
The dream warriors stood frozen, not from magic, but from something deeper. Terror. Not the fear of injury or death, but something older, existential, ancient. Naya took a step back. What is that thing?
She wasn't part of the plan.
Juna muttered, her voice dry. Gemini's voice rang in their minds from afar, trying to steady them.
You must press on. She is strong, yes, but she is not invincible. Fight her. Fight for the dreamer. You are his only hope.
But they didn't move. Back on Terminus, the silver chamber flickered with starlight. The Cancer Zodiac King leaned forward, resting his chin on one clawed hand.
This is why your Dream Warrior escapade is futile, Gemini,
he muttered.
When it comes down to it, they can't go the distance.
Scorpio, watching beside him, nodded. They are temporary, emotional, frail, unlike us. You want ants to move mountains. Gemini clenched his fists, not turning to face them. Silence! He peered into the orb of dreams, focusing as the scene unfolded. Below, the witch raised one hand.
Let us begin. Soulbind, paralysis waltz.
A shimmer of dark magic rippled outward like a pulse. In an instant, all 5 dream warriors froze in place. Locked in mid-step, eyes wide with horror, unable to move a muscle. Their bodies remained upright, but helpless. The witch walked slowly between them, her steps silent, her presence rotting the air. She smiled, not with joy, but with indulgence.
This spell renders you without emotion, but not without sensation. You can feel everything. In fact, your pain will be heightened.
She reached out a gnarled hand and pointed at Arius.
Let me show you. Marrow split.
A blade of twisted shadow appeared in the air, then shot forward in a single, sickening slash. Arius was cut completely in half. His upper and lower body separated in a burst of mist and blood, his face frozen in silent scream. Two halves dropped to the floor with a wet smack, staining the white tiles beneath them crimson. A moment passed. Then the paralysis spell lifted. The dream warriors collapsed to their knees, gasping, screaming, some retching, others crying. Naya shrieked, "He's dead! He's dead!"
Holy hell, he was cut in half!
Tess sobbed. Juno's shield fell from her hands with a clatter.
You said this was a dream!
Gemini's voice came quickly, trying to calm them.
He's not really dead. It looked real, yes, but he will wake up. The pain fades. His body is safe in the waking world.
He screamed.
Tess added, eyes glassy.
He couldn't move. He knew he was going to die.
His eyes.
Juno murmured.
His eyes never closed.
Gemini tried again, firmer now.
This isn't over. You still have a chance. You can still save the dreamer.
No!
Tess barked.
I'm done! I don't give a damn about your dreamer!
Juno turned to the sky, shouting.
Take me out! Get me out of here! I'm not dying for someone I don't even know!
You don't understand.
No! Naya interrupted. You don't understand. He died. You lied to us. I want out. One by one, their voices overlapped.
I'm not risking my life for this!
He can burn in hell for all I care.
Take me back! I want out!
Back on Terminus, Gemini stood frozen, jaw clenched. He tried to hide it, but the disappointment was bleeding through. He had believed in them. He wanted to believe.
Please,
He said one last time.
don't give up. You are more than this.
But there was no response. One by one, the dream warriors shimmered out of the dream, pulled back to the waking world by their own will, until none remained. The dream was silent. The dreamer still trapped. And Gemini, alone, stared into the empty orb, refusing to let his expression fall. But inside, something cracked. Back in the hollowed halls of Terminus, silence hung heavy. The orb of dreams had gone still. Gemini stood before it, arms at his side, face unreadable. The chairs of the Zodiac round encircled him, each throne occupied by a celestial king cloaked in the light of their sign. The silence was broken by a slow, indulgent chuckle. Cancer. He leaned back in his seat, his claw-like fingers steepled in front of his chest, his grin smug and insufferably wide. I knew it would be futile, he said, because people on Earth, they don't fight for truth or justice or compassion. They fight for recognition, fame, glory, fortune. He tilted his head toward Gemini, his eyes glinting. That's why they become dream warriors. Not to save dreamers, but to be stars, not heroes. Scorpio crossed one leg over the other, his voice smooth and quiet like poison slipping into wine. I must agree, he said. You will never find those outside our world who will go the distance. They weren't forged in starlight like we were. They crack under pressure. It's in their nature. Gemini didn't respond at first. He stood there, taking in their words, jaw clenched. Then he looked up. No, he said quietly. You're wrong. He turned to face the rest of the Zodiac Kings seated at the round table. I know a group that can go the distance. I should have trusted my gut the first time. Libra, calm and ever measured, leaned forward. You want to try again? Yes, Gemini said. I want to go back into the nightmare.
with a new group of warriors.
Libra gave a thoughtful pause.
You know the rules, Gemini.
In order to re-enter a returning nightmare, it must be reset. The nightmare will loop, and then we'll have to wait until tomorrow before the world aligns again. From the far end of the circle, Taurus shifted in his massive stone throne.
There are other dreamers, he grunted. Billions of them. This one had his chance. If he's lost, he's lost. It's too late for him.
Gemini's fists slammed against the stone table with a sharp crack.
I said I want one more chance.
The chamber went still. Gemini's voice lowered, but it pulsed with unshakable resolve.
I will not fail this time. I know it.
The Zodiac Kings looked to one another. A tense silence followed. Then Aquarius spoke, his voice like cool water flowing between mountains.
Very well, he said. You've never steered us wrong before, Gemini. One more chance.
Libra gave a slight nod. One by one, the rest of the Zodiac Kings, some reluctant, some curious, gave their agreement. Cancer said nothing, though his grin faltered just slightly. Gemini stepped away from the table, back toward the orb. The stars shifted. The dream would begin again tomorrow.